Freddy's Huge Ask Podcast.
What's the most unromantic thing you've ever done or experienced?
I had decided to dedicate this book to my husband, who we actually started dating when we were teenagers. We were 17. We've been together a long time. He's been supporting me for a long time in this. He bought my domain before I'd written a single word. He has just been positive that this is what I was going to do. He's known it all along. He's very sweet. So I decided to dedicate my first book to him. And the dedication says, "To David for being my love story." And I was so excited. I kept it a secret for a year and a half. And, the box of books comes, and it was my first experience with that. And it was so exciting, and he's filming it. And I'm like, "Here, open this and read it." And I'm filming him to see his reaction. And he reads it, and he looks up at me and he goes, "What does this mean?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" His face was not okay. And I grab it from him. My husband's name is David. And it said in the book, "To Daniel for being my love story." So he was like, for a moment, for a minute, he was like, "I thought you were telling me something in the worst way you could think of." It was really horrible. So it totally ruined this moment that I was going to be thought was going to be so special. My publisher freaked out. I think they were worried they'd wrecked my marriage or something. It's been a great story for a long time, and we occasionally will talk about Daniel every so often.
Oh my God.
They were able to fix it for the final copies, thank goodness.
Oh my God. Oh. But he's so sweet for buying the domain for you. I
know.
Oh,
He's been on board all along. He's been ready for this, which is great.
Way to go, Daniel. That's great.
It's all a journey, right? And a lot of times the battles with yourself.
Those are the toughest ones.
Oh, yeah.
A 1-star review, you can easily just ignore it.
Yeah.
You look yourself in the mirror every day, and it's like, what are you doing? What did you write? Who do you think you are? Or it's you get writer's block. Not speaking from personal experience, maybe I am. Or you're like, see, you can't do it.
Yeah.
The devil inside your head, it'll really get to you if you let it.
Well, yeah, and it's so much easier to talk ourselves out of things than talk ourselves into things. And I talk about this with my friends. It's everybody's afraid of being told no. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of being told we're not good enough. But if we don't try, we have said no to ourselves before we gave anybody else the chance to.
It was shocking and heartbreaking to learn that you didn't see anybody with white hair until you came to America.
Until I was much older, yeah.
What was something else that you didn't, that when you came to America, that you saw that, wow, this actually exists?
Well, what I was shocked is when the kids in my class would tell me that they took piano lessons, and it's hard for them, and they've been doing it since they're 4 years old, and their parents, and they don't really like it, or ballet classes. And I said to myself, how is that possible? When I was in Auschwitz, they were playing piano. I had trouble understanding as a child. Now I understand it, right? Because I live in a pretty safe, comfortable place, and there are people somewhere in the world starving. I understand there's so many different worlds, unfortunately. But at that time, as a young girl, I didn't understand that there were different worlds.
I want to know, and I'm asking this on behalf of writers and fellow creatives, because you do put out a lot of work every year. What's your process for overcoming any kind of self-doubt or negative self-talk as you're working on something?
Yeah, I found that, continuing to write, continuing to turn out pages, whether good or bad, is always a productive thing. And turn self-doubt into something that's positive. I got some really good advice from a screenwriter years ago, Bill Goldman, who wrote the script for Absolute Power, and he and I spent some time together while they were making that film, talking about, the script, but also talking about writing in general. And Bill, he won 2 Academy Awards, one of the greatest screenwriters of all time. And he said, my greatest fear is that I'm going to wake up one day and everybody will realize I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. But turn that into a superpower, you know, because part of the creative process is not knowing what the hell you're doing, but having to spend enough time on something where epiphanies in your subconscious, you know, percolates the surface of things you've been thinking about, and immersed yourself in, and all of a sudden ideas start coming and flowing through your imagination.
I thought all dads were doing this. That all dads were sitting at home drawing pictures of dead ladies. I didn't realize
Wow.
until
Oh,
I went
God.
to other people's houses, and I was like, where's your dad? And it turned out everybody else's dads were rarely in the house because they were accountants, they were lawyers, and mine was at home drawing pictures. But you know how little kids play shop and they try and, emulate their parents. I
Oh,
sat
no.
beside him.
Oh,
You
gosh.
can see where this is going. I sat beside him on a little table, and I pretended to be a cartoonist myself, and because I thought that's what adults did. So I drew my own book of all the ways a human being could die violently. And I still have it because my dad kept all these pages. He's like some kind of Gomez Adams. He was showing them off proudly to guests. And there's people being cut up with machetes, people being left hanging for the birds to eat.
What does a little girl's version of a machete even look like?
It's a pretty good machete because I just seen Gorillas in the Mist. This was when I was 7, by the way.
Oh, God.